Domain 1E, Designing Coherent Instruction. One of the most comprehensive components in Domain 1 is Component 1E, Designing Coherent Instruction. We will touch on all four qualifiers in order. Let's first start with Qualifier 1, identifying the content standards students will master. Content standards are typically found in curriculum guides or scope and sequence documents. These documents have been improved to allow the teacher to view the targeted benchmark, the essential question or task at hand, and resources such as textbook, website, or other district-approved resources, which include Gizmos. The curriculum guide offers the teacher the opportunity to select appropriate resources and coordinate learning activities, of which Gizmos can support through a variety of ways. Using the curriculum guides provided by content supervisors, Gizmos have been hand-correlated to make the integration of Gizmos seamless and offer the teacher ease of usage, especially during planning. Curriculum guides may be found in the instructional conference in first class, or may be accessed electronically through the school district's curriculum web pages if available. Additionally, the teacher can always browse for Gizmos on ExploreLearning.com. For instance, Gizmos can be browsed by state or province standard, Common Core standards, or by textbook correlation. Taking efforts one step further, district content curriculum web pages have been built and Gizmos aligned for teacher online access, such as middle school and high school science and high school math. Let's take a look at an example of a school district curriculum web page to identify where Gizmos can be found. This is an example of the middle school science web page. This web page is housed under the middle school directory. High school science and high school math have similar web pages that are accessible under secondary. In this example, a middle school science teacher has the ability to quickly identify Gizmos that correlate to the curriculum he or she will be teaching and plan how to integrate the Gizmo. In middle school and high school science, the 5E lesson plan model is highly encouraged, in which Gizmos may be used as one or several of the 5 E's. Engage, explore, explain, elaborate, or evaluate. Gizmos can do them all. In fact, ExploreLearning offers customized teacher professional development on the 5E lesson plan model with Gizmos incorporated. No matter middle school or high school, a teacher typically will start off by selecting a course from the selection listed. Once they have accessed the course they wish to see, they will then select a unit, chapter, or in this case, big idea. Resources may be listed altogether or broken down by benchmark, like they are here. No matter the case, look for a link that pertains to viewing resources. From the list of resources provided, look for ExploreLearning Gizmos, and there the teacher will find specific Gizmos listed that correlate to the standard or benchmark identified. ExploreLearning Gizmos Teacher Guide may be used to support Qualifier 2 and 3 listed here. Within the body of the Teacher Guide is the Learning Objectives section that may be used to support Qualifier 2, articulating well-designed essential questions, and Qualifier 3, employing backwards design. We begin with the end in mind by asking what students should be able to do or know at the end of the lesson, and then develop well-designed essential questions or lesson objectives. The teacher guide may be used during lesson planning to craft lesson objectives. Lesson objectives are noted at the beginning of the teacher guide, in which the teacher is encouraged to capitalize upon to craft their own objectives that will suit the needs of their students. Emphasis is placed upon including the 3 key elements, content, activity, and assessment when creating objectives. To support Qualifier 3, employing backwards design, ExploreLearning created a suggested lesson sequence section that provides the teacher with a pre-Gizmo activity, suggestions prior to using the Gizmo, Gizmo activities, discussion questions to infuse throughout the Gizmo activities, and a follow-up activity. Here, learning activities are matched to instructional outcomes and provide opportunities for higher-level thinking. Suggested timeframes along with more specific details are noted for each element. The development of discussion questions as a form of assessment is one artifact of backwards design, with student assessment as the next focus. Let's first look at the teacher guide as it applies to Domain 1E, Designing Coherent Instruction. On the Lesson Info tab for this Gizmo, you will see the lesson materials available. These include a student exploration sheet, an exploration sheet answer key, teacher guide, and vocabulary sheet. Since we only will be previewing the teacher guide, we'll open the PDF version, but notice all materials are available in both PDF and Word document format, making any lesson material easy to modify. Let's now look at the teacher guide from beginning to end to see the areas that support Domain 1E, Designing Coherent Instruction. The two main components found in the teacher guide that may support qualifiers 2 and 3 include the Learning Objectives section found at the beginning of the teacher guide and the Suggested Lesson Sequence section, which is the fourth section of the teacher guide. Student learning outcomes are listed for the Gizmo activities as learning objectives. Conveniently located first on the teacher guide, this serves as a reminder to begin with the end in mind. What should students be able to do or know at the conclusion of the Gizmo activities? The learning objectives listed may provide the teacher with a springboard to create their very own objectives. To embody all three components of the learning objective, those being content, activity, and assessment, the teacher may use the learning objectives listed in addition to the learning overview section to state the content. For activity, the teacher may state how the Gizmo will be utilized or what activity of the student exploration sheet will be conducted. Whole class Gizmo instruction, small group Gizmo instruction, or one-on-one computer usage using Gizmos are other possible options. In incorporating assessment into the objective, the teacher may state which method of Gizmo assessment will be employed: the student exploration sheet, the 5 Gizmo assessment questions, student-generated products using the snapshot tool, or possibly a teacher-generated assessment. Focusing now on the Suggested Lesson Sequence section, here the teacher will find additional support for employing backward design. With the Suggested Lesson Sequence section of the teacher guide, a teacher will find pre, during, and post-Gizmo activities. During planning and preparation, discussion questions should be scripted and infused strategically throughout the lesson to check student comprehension. In the Suggested Lesson Sequence section, discussion questions are listed here as number 4. The discussion questions listed may be infused throughout the lesson to assess student learning along the way, or at the end of the lesson as an informal assessment by using an exit card strategy. Discussion questions should always correspond with student learning objectives or outcomes. Thus, it's important teachers preview the discussion questions to ensure they tie into the learning objectives they've formulated. Let's return to the classroom teacher evaluation instrument to finish Qualifier 3, employing backward design. In addition to the discussion questions listed in the Suggested Lesson Sequence section of the teacher guide, ExploreLearning Gizmos also offer 2 other ways student knowledge may be assessed. Included with every Gizmo in the library are 5 multiple-choice assessment questions located directly below the Gizmo on the Gizmo tab. The Gizmo itself also has a rather unique built-in feature that can be used to assess student knowledge, a snapshot camera feature. Let's first look at the 5 assessment questions that accompany every Gizmo. By clicking on the Gizmo tab found to the right of the Lesson Info tab, the teacher and students can access the Gizmo. This is where the teacher and students can manipulate and interact with the Gizmo either at school or at home. In addition to the Gizmo itself, directly beneath the Gizmo are 5 assessment questions. These assessment questions can be answered by each student. When a student is finished, they may click on the Check Your Answer button. The 5 assessment questions are instantly graded, and a report opens automatically on the computer screen with instant feedback for that student. In the individualized report, students are able to see the original question and answer options in addition to their answer selected. The correct answer selection, which may or may not match what they selected, is also listed. Most powerful, an explanation of the correct answer is provided, regardless if the student answered the question correctly or not. The teacher is also provided with an assessment results report that shows all of the students enrolled in that class and their answer options. This is available for each Gizmo the teacher assigns on their class tab within their ExploreLearning account. A built-in feature to Gizmos includes a snapshot camera or screenshot feature. Notice the camera buttons identified on this gizmo. The buttons for the snapshot camera and copy screen feature also look like these here. In incorporating Qualifier 3 employing backward design, the teacher may decide to assess student learning a variety of ways. Possibly the discussion questions may work best as informal assessment questions to be posed throughout the lesson. Students may use the snapshot camera feature if working one-on-one with a computer to capture supporting data or evidence. They could then pair their evidence with a summative statement or written justification that is mathematically or scientifically based. Lastly, the teacher may plan for students to also answer the 5 assessment questions that come with each gizmo as a way to look for overarching trends, identify student misconceptions that still exist, or areas for improvement while progressing forward in the instruction. The last qualifier, number 4, focuses on allocating an instructionally appropriate amount of time. The teacher guide includes a suggested lesson sequence section that contains a pre-gizmo activity, suggestions prior to using the gizmo, gizmo activities, discussion questions to infuse throughout the activities, and a follow-up activity. The plan for the lesson is well structured, with specific details given for each element and reasonable time allocations noted. During planning and preparation, the teacher may decide to modify the student exploration sheet by opening the document using a word processor program. By doing so, the teacher has the ability to adjust one of the activities already prepared by shortening or lengthening a part of the student exploration sheet. Modifying the student exploration sheet is recommended in order to meet the needs of students. Doing so would exhibit efforts to allocate instructional time wisely, in addition to organizing learning material thoughtfully to maximize learning and build on student strengths. Let's now look at the teacher guide as it applies to this qualifier in support of Domain 1E, Designing Coherent Instruction. The suggested lesson sequence section is the 4th section presented in the teacher guide. Specific details are noted for each element listed under the suggested lesson sequence section, along with suggested time frames. You may now click on the orange EL logo in the bottom right corner to return to the main menu, or wait to continue to Domain 1F, Designing Student Assessments.